What was business like? What was life like before we started working together?
Well, business, I don't want to say it was bad. It was good, but then the biggest issue was the fact that, I was a personal trainer. I was making good money, but at the same time, I was working in the gym from like, I'd start as early as 5 a.m. and, there are days where I'd end at like 9 p.m. So like I was making a lot of money, which was awesome. But at the same time, I was obviously getting burnt out. I was doing the standard trap of like working from 9 to 12 as a personal trainer. I'd either work out, have lunch, or, you know, mo- more days than not just like take a nap from like 12 to whatever, like 12 to 3 typically. And then I'd start training again from like 3 to 8 or 9 o'clock at night. So I was making money, but I was putting a lot of hours like into this. So yeah, it was good in that sense, like the financial gains, but it was a lot of hours.
Right. So pretty much just going through the typical personal trainer grind of
Yeah.
making decent money, but also having to sacrifice your time and your soul to get that sort of thing. Right.
Yeah.
So I know before we started working together, you were also you had invested before in, a popular fitness business program. So what was your experience like? How was that different from us working together?
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing with that is I don't want to say like it was a terrible experience. But he was so popular. Well, yeah, they were so popular where it's just like I almost felt like I fell through the cracks. Where, yes, definitely on my end, I didn't necessarily show up to everything that they, were asking me to do and just always do that. But I felt like it was really, really easy for me to kind of just like fall through the cracks on their end. Where it's like, hey, like if this guy didn't show up, then, you know, that's whatever. He doesn't really want it that bad. Where opposed to like, again, I guess at the same time, it's like, hey, that was on my end, but then definitely felt like I wasn't held really accountable on their end. If that makes sense.
Right. So it was one of those things where it was almost like pretty scaled up and the accountability was pretty much show up for it and ask for help from
Yeah.
your end, and it's very one-sided sort of thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Pretty much, which yeah. So it was like if I didn't show up, then my me not being successful didn't really tarnish their reputation, if you will.
Right, got it. Because I know even before we started working together, or just before that, you obviously financially, whenever it comes to business investments, it's not cheap. And so I think for you, there was a lot of fear and a lot of going back in terms of like, should I do it? Should I not? So what were your
Okay.
thoughts before you actually, what were your thoughts before you actually took the leap and invested?
Well, I was like, oh, man, I guess number one was like, am I really going to invest in another coach? Am I really going to drop another like hefty investment? Which obviously I'm not going to say on here because you need that's what you say. But like I was really like nervous to actually say yes. I think I said no to like working with you like 3 or 4 times like before. I was like, all right, all right, let's do this. This makes sense.
Mm.
So yeah, that was definitely like a big thing. Like I was very, very nervous to drop another investment because I was like, is this going to just be the same exact thing? Everything she's saying, in terms of like how she's marketing, doesn't sound any different than the modules that I'm learning right now, or that I learned like 3 months ago. But, there's definitely a lot of big differences, between like your business strategy and the other one that I was in. But definitely like kind of coming back to like the level of accountability was really the biggest game changer, like on between this and I guess just that previous program that I was in. Because again, like I said, like business is business where it's like, strategies aren't too different, almost like fitness,
Right.
but it's like, it was the accountability that really made the big difference for me and my success.
Right. So the main thing was not necessarily that you were learning a bunch of strategy that you haven't necessarily learned. It was
Mhm.
more so how do you apply it in a way that's specific to your business,
Yeah.
as well as get the accountability that you need, right? Because for example, it's like everyone can teach the similar concept on sales when it comes to, well, sell the benefit and not the features is like, duh, right? But then in terms of actual
Yeah.
applying it in a way that's specific to you, in terms of like, hey, can I review the sales call? Or hey, I got this objection, how do I prevent it next time? That's where the high touch accountability comes in. So is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like you said, exactly. It's how can I make like this strategy applicable to like me and my business, like what I do specifically.
Yeah. So what was your thought process before you finally decided to actually take the leap then?
I was just like, how am I going to find the money for this? That was my first thought. But then it was also like, again, kind of coming back to like, I was a little nervous and I was a little scared almost to actually do it because it's like, shit, like, I literally just got out of this program like a month and a half ago, if that. I haven't even spent like a full quarter doing this on my own.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like the big thought process in my head. Like, am I really going to do this? Does this even make sense? Does it even make sense to have a business coach or like having a mentor rather?
Mm-hmm. And then in the end, what made you decide like, hey, yeah, it does make sense, or I need to do this? Because I know for you, one of the biggest things was more like, will I make it back? Mm-hmm. And also financially, I'm already in a tough spot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess like it was just like, it kind of brought me back to like thinking about like fitness on my side. Cause like, I'm coaching fitness. Obviously you help fitness coaches. So duh.
Surprise.
But just kind of thinking back, like on my end, it's like, just because, I've worked with a lot of clients who worked really well with me. And then I had some clients who didn't work so well in my system and they worked really well with other coaches. And it made me think like, hey, like not every situation is always going to be perfect for everyone, but doesn't mean that a system is necessarily broken, and everybody needs a coach. Everybody needs somebody to kind of get themselves out of their own head, which was like something that I obviously was in. Like it's definitely easy to kind of get in your own way in terms of like fitness, business, anything like that when you have goals. And it's really important to have somebody kind of like pull you back out of your head and out of that rut and like pull you back into reality and show you like, hey, you need to do this.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And now that you've actually gone through the mentorship, well, what were your results like? So, what was your highest week? What is your current price point now?
I mean, well, you caught me on a good week, so, but yeah, so I guess highest price point right around, I definitely know like some coaches who are pricing higher than me, but I think my highest price point is like 3,000 for 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
I had like I guess this week I had my best week where I had contracted revenue of 12.9K.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of, again, I know like there are some coaches out there who are definitely doing more than me, but like that was kind of ridiculous for me because I was almost making my entire month in a week.
Right.
So yeah, I guess typically first kind of cool thing actually starting with you. I think in my first month, I like doubled my initial investment. I think I made like 12K in my first month, which was kind of cool. Now I'm making it in a week. What?
Yeah. Woo, scaling.
But yeah, so yeah, best week was 12.9K, and then first month with you I did just about 12K.
Mm-hmm.
So
right. So what about the few months after that? Because I think like a lot of the time in testimonials and things like that, everyone has that like massive, amazing month or like massive, amazing week that people like to then market the shit out of. So like, average or on a month-to-month basis since we started, what were you kind of averaging at?
Oh yeah, I was still averaging like between 12 to 14K for the next like 6 months.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah, well, not too bad. I'll be honest, like, last month was definitely a dip, and, I attribute that definitely to being, quarantine and stuff. But the cool thing is, again, having a good mentor and having like a good business strategy. I think I wrote this in a post yesterday, actually, talking about how like, yeah, I lost like 80% of my revenue in a month, but then I literally made my month back in a week, which was, but so, yeah. So, averaging, still averaging 12K then. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. to
Yeah.
put it lightly. And so, because you quit your job as well, right? Did you quit?
Oh
Or
yeah,
was
yeah. So I hope that she doesn't see this because she's in the fitness. But yeah. So I used to work at a gym where I still had like I was working with actually I don't know if I should say this, but yeah, I was working with my ex. So I was still
Mhm.
working a part-time training job, which I liked, but it was group training, and I really had it still because it was still paying a lot of my bills,
Mhm.
and it was kind of like that little comfort zone for me. And so that was the big thing. Like I was still doing that just because I needed to be comfortable and I needed to make sure that, you know, what happens if I don't sign this client? What if happens if I don't like get all these personal training sessions in? At least I know how I have this consistent revenue to cover my bills right now.
Mm.
But it was pretty cool. Like, so after about like a month and some change working with Hannah, like I was making enough money, like doing this where I'm just like, you know, what do I need to still have like this little like safety net for? I was able to like quit that safety net after like, I think 6 weeks, maybe 5 weeks, somewhere in that
Yeah.
range.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of a big deal because I was wanting to do that over the last like year or so,
Whoa.
prior to working with Hannah.
Whoa, that's a long time. Yeah, I remember reading that post. I think I was like at the gym or something when you post and tagged me in it, and I was like, whew, if I had feelings, I'd be crying right now.
if you had feelings.
If I had feelings, yeah. So, what are your next level goals now that you've kind of had a taste of what's possible and run an actual 5-figure a month business? What are the next level goals for yourself?
That's a good question. I mean, initially one goal was like I definitely want to open up a gym, and I want to be able to say like, hey, I can open up a gym and comfortably do it
Mm.
financially strictly from online training. But after like this whole situation, after like the whole quarantine thing, I'm just like, I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense anymore.
Hmm.
But nothing, no shot at like anyone who wants to open up a gym. But for me, that just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense financially. Just like pouring money into something that may not generate the same rate on the investment. But I guess like my next goal is like, I don't know. My next goal is I want to make 7 figures one day. That's
Mm.
a big goal for me. Where I'd really like to make 7 figures by. I'm 26. I'd like to say like before 30.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
but
amazing.
so that'd be kind of cool. I don't know what
Yeah.
I'd do with money. I really don't know.
That's amazing. 7 figures by 30. You guys heard it here first. So, Dan, one last question. What do you have to say for anyone who might be considering joining us or on the fence?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so kind of coming back, like it's going to be scary, and obviously it should be scary. Just like what you're going to tell your clients in terms of fitness, like they should be scared and nervous about their fitness goals. But I guess the biggest thing to really think about is like if something's really important to you, if something really matters to you, then it's going to be scary, and you're going to be nervous, and that's okay. You know, the only regret that you're going to ever have in life is not taking. As cliche as it sounds, but like not taking the opportunities that are presented to you, and like looking back in life and saying like I should have done X, Y, and Z when you could have done X, Y, and Z.
Ooh, that's deep.
Boom.
That is deep, guys. Dan, I'm so glad I paid you £1,000 to record this fake testimonial for me.
Yeah, of course. No.
Just joking.
Okay.
Just joking, guys. Obviously a joke. But where can people find you if they want to check you out and check out your stuff?
They can find me at the Strength District.
Oh.
But yeah, so you can find me on Instagram, dan.tsd. You can like, comment, subscribe to my YouTube channel that I don't actually have and post on. But yeah,
Right.
so you can find me out there. You can find me at the Strength District. That's the whole reason that I had this
Pretty
banner set
sweet.
up. But Hannah, thank you for joining my podcast.
Uh,
And thank you for your time.
all right, guys, make sure you check Dan out at dan.tsd on Instagram. And if you want to chat to him as well about his business, then maybe hit him up. And if he's not loaded with clients, then he'll chat to you. All
All
right.
right, Hannah, thank you for your time.
Okay.